Testing. Testing. Testing 1 2 3. Testing.
Yeah, you were in that conference. Oh, I know. I think there's a letter somewhere from Kate from that training. So, you're like, there's a letter about that. I mean, really? Oh, I know. I was home over.
Yeah, that might make more sense. I'll text you. Okay, thanks, bye.
Get off the train. Blue suit. 2 minutes, everyone. I saw your strategy move was 2 minutes. Actually, look better. Blue suit day today. That's nice.
Or do we have everyone? We do. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We stand here as members of Congress, but also as veterans of the armed services. We stand here, many of us, as people who have served in wartime. And I'll tell you that as an Iraq War veteran myself, I remember what it was like when the invasion went so well and how proud of my Marines I was. I remember what it was like when the president said, "Mission accomplished," and we all got heroes' welcomes back home. I also remember what it was like when it turned out that the Bush administration lied to us about the intelligence and about their intentions, and kept changing their story for why we went to war in the first place. I remember what it was like when it became apparent that the administration had no plan for what comes next. And I remember what it was like when the Bush administration presided over a disaster in Iraq. I remember what the aftermath of that was like, as more and more Americans died in a forever war, and the country descended into civil war and chaos. That's why I'm skeptical of what's going on in Venezuela today. Maduro's a bad guy. There are a lot of bad guys in the world. The operation was successful, of course it was, because that's what America does. But we as members of Congress and American people should not be lied to by any administration. And we should all ask the question about where our tax dollars and where American lives may be spent or wasted next. I'm delighted to introduce my colleague. Is Pat Ryan here yet? All right, my colleague, Congressman Ryan.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you to all my colleagues here. All of us took an oath. We raised our right hand. We said we would give our life for this country that we love so deeply. And undergirding that willingness to take that oath is trust. Trust. Trust that our country that we love, that we worship, would do right by us, would only send us and our brothers and sisters in arms to war if we absolutely had to, if we had no other choice, if we had exhausted all options. Importantly, if we had discussed it with the American people as our founders and framers intended and wrote and articulated explicitly in our Constitution. We all did that. I'll speak for myself. I would do it again every single day. But only if that trust is maintained. And that trust has been fundamentally broken by this administration with this action in Venezuela and with other ones before, but I think this one is particularly egregious. And many of us just left a briefing where certainly the trust deficit was only added to, deeply added to, by a refusal to answer any substantive questions, running out the clock on members, many of whom served in uniform, all of whom, on behalf of their constituents, deserve to ask good faith questions. The dual-hatted Secretary of State and National Security Advisor shrugged his shoulders when asked repeatedly, "How much did this cost?" and literally joked about it. This is not a joking matter. It's not a joking matter to those 7 incredibly heroic and brave Americans who were wounded in this action. And by the way, speaking of trust and lack of trust, that wasn't even disclosed until yesterday. Right before Christmas, all of us went into that same room. Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth lied to our faces. More importantly, they lied to the American people who we proudly represent. They told us the goal was not regime change. They told us there would be no land attacks. They told us they would come to Congress before doing so because they also understand, or pretended anyway, to understand our Constitution. As I said, they didn't even tell us for days that there were American casualties, 2 of whom are still recovering in the hospital, and thank God we were just told we'll be okay. Frankly, the only moment of honesty in all this so far has been when Donald Trump that morning said, "This is about oil." And I think he said it 12 plus times and has continued to say it. And then when he at least was willing to say what Rubio and others have tried to cover up and obfuscate, which is we're going to quote unquote run this country. Again, none of the questions about what that looks like were answered by Secretary Rubio in the briefing we just came out of. Frankly, I think the only people who are getting the truth here, and the president confirmed this on Air Force One the other night, are the oil executives who stand to make record-breaking profits. And having fought in a war for oil, I refuse to allow that to happen again. We already spent $7 trillion plus on 2 forever wars that never should have been started in the first place. And the choice now before us is, do we want to send more of our blood and treasure, our most precious resources, our young men and women, into a country that is a mess and has been a mess, or the 6 others, by the way, that the president and his advisors have named and tweeted about? Or do we actually want to invest in the American people? Do we want to get health care for everyone? Do we want to get infrastructure that works? Do we want a better education system? Do we want to lower costs of housing and gas and groceries and everything else, which is the mandate of this administration? That's what we are all about. We're about stopping and ending forever wars and lowering costs for our constituents. We will not allow them to continue to lie to the American people. We'll hold them to account, and I'm so proud to stand with my colleagues here who will continue to speak up and not let them lie to us and, more importantly, to the American people. It is my honor now is Mike here? Mike Thompson? Nope, okay. I think he's on the way. My honor now to invite up a key member of our leadership. We're so proud to have him as our veteran voice in the leadership of our party, Representative Ted Lieu. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Congressman Moulton and the co-chairs of the House Democratic Veterans Caucus, Congress members Ryan and DeLuzio, for setting up this press conference, and all the Democratic veterans who are here today. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. We also know that for the first time since the early pandemic and 2008 recession, America is losing blue-collar jobs, has been doing so since this February, and food prices continue to increase. And what is Donald Trump's response? Quote, in his words, running Venezuela. That is insane. That is not what the American people want. The American people want this president and Republicans to focus on the affordability crisis. And now we're hearing that the administration is going to seize Venezuela's oil, sell it, and then help rebuild Venezuela with that oil money. We should be rebuilding America, not rebuilding Venezuela. The focus of the Trump administration is completely misplaced. And what's even more alarming is they have no plan for the day after for Venezuela. There's no specific plan as to how they're going to get to a democracy. And the person they're backing right now, Delcy Rodriguez, is the hand-picked vice president of Maduro. They have the same repressive regime in place right now that's being even more repressive against the people of Venezuela, because now they're going after all sorts of Venezuelans, confiscating their cell phones. So things, in fact, are even worse right now than they were just a few days ago, and there is no plan, and we need to hear a plan from this administration. And as Seth Moulton has said, our military does amazing things. That's what America does. But it's always the day after that America has big problems with, and this administration needs to come up with a plan and needs to focus on helping Americans. That's what we should do. My honor now to introduce the amazing Representative Mike Thompson from Northern California.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to stand with my fellow veterans today. I served in combat with 173rd Airborne Brigade. I was wounded in combat, and like everyone else on this stage who has served in combat, I'm here to tell you that war needs to be the absolute last resort. We all know it because we've all lived it. And many of our colleagues, many of our fellow military folks did not come home. The sad reality is that in war, people die. Now, there's no question that Maduro is a bad guy, but there's also no question that it's Congress that must approve acts of war. And if we send someone's son or daughter into harm's way, we better have a damn good reason to do that. And I'm here to tell you that oil is not a damn good reason to send anyone into combat. In 2002, I opposed the invasion of Iraq, and I got lots of criticism for doing that. It was a decision that I thought was important because we were sending troops into harm's way. I knew that people's sons and daughters would die. And I also knew that the justification that we were given was nonsense. It wasn't accurate. This is no different. We have not heard any justification. It was all about drugs 2 days ago. Today, it's all about oil. And as I said, oil is no reason to send anyone's sons or daughters into combat. So I'm here to ask that the American people stand with us and that we stand with the American people against any unprovoked military expansion in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Greenland, or any of this other nonsense that this administration is talking about. I'm here to call on the Speaker to bring up the bill that we're talking about today to prevent this president from enacting war without a vote of the Congress of the United States of America. And it's my honor to ask Representative Houlihan, a great service member, a great veteran, and a great colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. I very much appreciate being here with my colleagues, my fellow veterans. I had prepared remarks, but have decided to sort of go off the cuff because as I was walking in here, I was asked by a reporter what my thoughts were about what's happening with Senator Kelly and the attacks that have been made against him and his honored and storied career, and whether or not his statement represented how we should be responding. And the truth is, there were 6 of us, and now there are more. And there are more of us than are standing here on this stage who are veterans, who believe in the fact, as my dad raised me to understand, that the Department of Defense is the last line of defense. It is not something that you use to bend the world to your will whenever you feel like it. And effectively, that's what this administration is doing without any sort of clarity or understanding of why we're doing this. And I think that it is important and impactful when people like we are, people who have served anywhere from the Vietnam War through Desert Storm and through all of the current and modern wars, remember our history well enough to know that this is not what we are put in this service to do. This is not what our oath is about. And so I'm very grateful to be standing here. I'm very hopeful that eventually that I will not be just joined by Democratic veterans, but also by Republican veterans as well, who understand and remember their history, who understand and remember that we are the Department of Defense, not anything else. I'm grateful to be here, and it's my opportunity to introduce another fine veteran, another one from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Representative DeLuzio.
Thank you, Representative Houlihan. I'm so proud to be joined and stand here with my fellow veterans. I'll lay out a pretty simple standard that I think we all should ask about whether you send Americans to fight or occupy a foreign land. Can you look young people in the eye and say they should risk their life and maybe die for it? Can you look parents and grandparents in the eye and say that their children or grandchildren should risk their lives and maybe die for it? I think if I ask